If you're still kicking and you're still fighting in your fantasy football championships, this is the video for you. 2 more weeks you probably have. 2 more weeks of getting a dub, and it's going to start with this video here today, talking about sneaky starts that we should be playing in week 16 of fantasy. I won't hold you any longer. Let's get right down to business. Roll the goddamn intro. Let's kick it off right away and talk about Darren Waller, tight end of the Miami Dolphins, who has been a significant part of their red zone offense since he's returned in the last 3 weeks. Since week 12, no one else in the Miami Dolphins offense has more red zone targets or even receiving touchdowns than Darren Waller himself. And newsflash for you, he didn't even start playing again until week 13. So that just goes to show you how much that they trust Darren Waller when they get down inside the red zone. In week 16, the Dolphins are going to clash against the Bengals. The Bengals give up the most fantasy points allowed to the tight end position. So we have a great matchup and a player in a system that's going to be utilized when they get down into the red zone. This is a no-brainer. Darren Waller must be started if he's available still in your fantasy football leagues. Next, I want to talk about somebody on the channel I've spoke about quite a few times already this year. Michael Wilson of the Arizona Cardinals, who's going up against the Atlanta Falcons, which is a great matchup for Michael Wilson. I took a lot of heat in the last video I made about players you don't want to face in the fantasy playoffs, and a lot of people were telling me that Michael Wilson was going to struggle against the Texans. That didn't happen. He still had 11 targets, 5 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown. We'll take that every single day of the week. And I've also heard the excuse that Marvin Harrison Jr. is on his way back. He probably won't see as many targets. I'll believe it when I see it. Michael Wilson is going to be that guy. He has built a rapport with Jacoby Brissett over the last few weeks. The Atlanta Falcons provides a great matchup for Michael Wilson. Probably a game script where they'll be trailing in this game for most of the game and allowing Jacoby Brissett to throw. Michael Wilson is a great sneaky star in fantasy this week. And I would have put him in the must-star video that's coming out later in the week, but I took a lot of heat from Michael Wilson. Maybe some people don't think he's a must-start. Maybe you guys think he's a sneaky start instead because you didn't believe in him when I made the video last week. So yeah, Michael Wilson, sneaky start against the Atlanta Falcons, must be played. Next, I want to talk about 49ers wide receiver Jauan Jennings, who's been on an absolute tear the second half of the season. Since week 9, Jauan Jennings is the wide receiver 14 in PPR points. This is phenomenal. Keep in mind that 8 of the 13 players placed ahead of him were players that already had a bye week and have an extra game on him. So that makes the wide receiver 14 finish even more impressive. He is right on par with some of the best wide receivers in terms of fantasy point production. Having one less game played, but still being in the top 15 group of wide receivers over the second half of the season truly shows how great Jauan Jennings has been. He's somebody that gets the ball in the red zone, always finds the end zone somehow, and Jauan Jennings is going to be a sneaky start this week. The 49ers are also going up against the Indianapolis Colts this weekend, and while they kept JSN in check last week, they still allow the 7th most fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver position. So Jauan Jennings, no-brainer, must start, and a sneaky start at that, because we probably didn't realize how good he's been over the second half of the season. Finally, I want to talk about Tyrone Tracy, running back of the New York Giants. And I understand that last week against the Commanders was an explosion game. He had 2 touchdowns. It was the first time he found the end zone since week 7. So that's a really long stretch of not getting into the end zone. But nonetheless, we're starting to see Tyrone Tracy finally play more snaps in this offense, which is a great sign that we should continue to be playing him, and finds himself as a sneaky start against the Minnesota Vikings this weekend. What makes Tyrone Tracy on this list as a sneaky start player is that he's logged 70% or more of the snaps in 2 out of the last 3 games for the Giants, and on top of that, the Vikings just got gashed by the Cowboys' run game last week. They gave up well over 100 yards in that matchup. Why can't Tyrone Tracy be running for 74 yards and find his way in the end zone? That's all we need for him to be a sneaky start, right? Those are my 4 sneaky starts for fantasy football in week 16. These are going to help you get over the top if you're still in the playoffs or fighting to not be last place. Of course, that's what we all hope not to be. I don't want to see any of you at home doing a fantasy football punishment, especially if you're subscribed to the channel. That would be crazy. But if you stuck around and watched this entire video, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. If you're new here, you like fantasy football content, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. It costs you nothing and would help the channel out immensely, get my videos out to more and more fantasy football enthusiasts like yourself. And for those that are already subscribed, Outlier Militia, how we doing, baby? Smash that like button so I know to keep making more fantasy football content like this video. And that's all the time I have for you guys today. I will be posting another video shortly after this one. We will cover all the must-start players of Week 16 like we always do. But yeah, that's all the time I got for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Turtle. This is Outlier Fantasy. And I will see you in the next video. Wow, you stuck to the end of this video? Thank you so much. If you're new here, make sure you check out one of these videos on the screen right now. And don't forget, before you leave, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any fantasy football videos on this channel. And that's all I got for you guys. I'll see you in the next one.